Yes, so hello everybody. I'm happy to be here. I was working as a security engineer for quite some time, and for about 3 years I'm the product manager of Microgateway, which is a container-based web application firewall. I'm here not to make a product pitch, don't misunderstand me. I want to share our view, how we think that web application could be secured in especially modern environments like Kubernetes. So this is the agenda for today. So first thing would be to deep dive a little bit about security, how you could secure your web applications, if finally there is something to consider, if we agree what we need to do, and a demo. I do hope that you are not too thirsty and hungry, and you are still could wait for the beer afterwards. If I would ask you how to secure the web application, I would get many responses of you. And I assume all of them would be correct. There are so many things you can do in all different kind of phases in the DevOps 8, like scanning for the images, what kind of vulnerabilities are in there. We have heard in the other talk very well. Pen testing and all kind of stuff. And they are all necessary. There is not just one tool and you are secure. What I want to do is to go a little bit in the topic, web application firewall, how that fits into the DevOps 8, because usually I assume that's quite difficult to be agile with this process. And if we go one step back, so what are the goals mainly for the security team? They want to eliminate, in general, that the vulnerabilities are in production. And if so, or maybe besides, if there are vulnerabilities in production, you want to filter the traffic. You want to have authentication in place, and there might be also good reasons to have some kind of tool in place because of regulatory. But you are not building applications just because of security. You are building applications because you have a use case, you want to sell something, but it should be secure. To get the best out of it, the business logic and security should fit hand in hand. If we look into a web application, we do have the business logic, the stuff you are building, and then the green part would be the security part you need to build if you build the whole application on your own. So you need to program all the filtering stuff for input validation, attack preventing, throttling, or access control as well. I assume you do not have only one application in your enterprise, but many. So that would mean you need to program the filtering part and the access control every time, again and again. If it's the same programming language, you would say, yeah, that's easy. I'm just building one library and reuse it. But what if there are different programming languages in use? And what about the legacy applications? You cannot switch off because it is required to run from business perspective. You would have a problem. This is why we think it does make sense to have the filtering part and the access control part outside the web application, that the developer can focus on the business logic they want to create. The authentication method can change over time without affecting the application itself. It is language agnostic. The security team can put in place some security policies which make sense. And you get many features out of the box from a solution which is outside your web application. But in general, there are usually global policies in place. So some settings the security team wants to enforce, and application-specific policies, which means for a certain application, a specific setting is required in order to run this application. Otherwise, you would have false positives. And the problem is that you have two different parties, two different teams, which usually maintain those kind of policies. So the security team usually wants to enforce the company-wide policies, while the developer, the app team, usually knows best what kind of settings can be configured or must be configured in order that the application itself runs smoothly. And if it's like that way, so a central box in front of it, you could assume it's like a ping pong between the two teams. Please change that, please change this, and maybe also in conflict in case that these kind of policies are shared or interfere the other application. So therefore, from centralized, we believe it does make sense to put the app-specific policies close, very close to the application, bundle it together, and roll it out from the dev environment into production. And to have an edge gateway to force some global policies or just to control what kind of traffic is going in. So the devs do not need to reinvent the wheel, and the apps are independent, so the policies do not interfere each other. And if you want so, you could connect an access and authentication system so that only authenticated users can access your services. The DevOps side usually means very agile development, very, very fast new releases. So how does that fit? The security team can still define company-wide policies on the edge gateway. If in case that it is a Kubernetes native solution, they can enforce some kind of settings, security settings like denials should be enabled in production or things like that through tools like OPI Gatekeeper, Kyverno, or your tool of choice. They can observe what kind of settings they have configured. And on the other hand, the app team gains independence. So that means they can roll out their application whenever they want without having any problems. So as I said, if we agree that that would be a great picture, a great solution, is there something to consider? Most likely there is. DevSecOps in general means cultural adaptation. So it is not only a question of what kind of tool you're using. It means that the developers, the operation, the management, and the security team must stand behind this solution, and that all pull together. Security should be integrated from the start, and business logic should fit hand in hand with the security solution of your choice in order to get the best out of it. And one thing changes. The security policies are not maintained anymore on one box where only the security team has access to, and they can control and say, no, we are not going live. It is some kind of distributed. But in the end, the security team is still responsible for the enterprise security. So this changes a little bit how to think about security. This changes especially because the developer now needs to integrate all these rules to think about, oh, besides coding and programming, what I need to enable or disallow. So they need education. Someone needs to empower them by giving them education, guidelines, or blueprints. How does the architecture look like normally, or templates as a good starting point. The security team, their focus will shift as well. They will be more like consulting those project teams. They are not integrating anymore that much as they did maybe before, but more enabling those teams. They are maintaining these deliveries I just mentioned, or observe the configuration which has been done by different projects teams. And yes, they are prohibiting some settings they don't want to be enabled in production, and they monitor the production and the attack surface. And in case that something has changed on the attack surface, they must enable or change the configuration which is in production. But enough slides. I want to show how such a solution could look like. What we will see in this track, one step back. This is a link. So thanks to bank holiday, we do have a longer weekend. Maybe some of you do not know what to do. There is a link. It does take about 3 minutes to start. I did that previously. The link works until 31st of May. You can do that if you want. I guess you would also get the link afterwards online on Vision. Otherwise, just make a picture. And yes, what you can do here, it does start an environment for you, and where we want to get familiar, what is being deployed. So the Airlock Microgateway, we will send an attack string to a demo web application. Then we will protect this kind of web application, inspect what is changed, and then try again to send the same attack string. So what we have here, I don't know, do you see those guys in the back? Otherwise I need to, yeah. What we have here is a shell. We do have a very, very simple demo web application, which mainly shows us the request being sent, and we can easily send the query parameter, and we do have a link to the documentation. Yeah, the goal here, Microgateway has been deployed, is to see what is exactly being deployed here. So first thing we will do is to see what kind of namespaces we have. We do have here the Airlock Micro namespace. We watch what kind of deployments we have. And there are many CRDs deployed, since it is a Kubernetes native integration. As mentioned, no matter which kind of product you choose, the Kubernetes native integration gives you the power that the developer team can use the tools they normally do, like Customize, Helm, whatever, or policy enforcement tools for the security team. Now we want to send this kind of attack string to the web application. For that purpose, I do open them. And I'm sorry, no magic is going to happen. But what we see here is that the attack string is being sent. We can confirm that as well in the logs. And we see the attack string is being received. What we want to do is now to protect our demo web application. For that, there are some files, some custom resources here. we want to look first what is inside them. And we see sidecar gateway. We are going to inject the sidecar, which is filtering the traffic, and it does protect all pods matching those labels. So we do have a pod running containing exactly or having exactly this label. A content security ref is being referenced. And from here, a deny rule is being referenced to, where we have set the security level to strict. So as you see, the configuration is declarative and can easily be integrated in your CI/CD pipeline and deployed with a GitOps tool. But if we look, nothing has changed so far. There's still 1 out of 1 container running. We need to instruct the operator to inject the sidecar. And then we see that the deployment is being changed. There is a rollover. The new pod is being started. And once the new pod is started, the old one will be terminated. Yes. Alternatively, we could have done this with these commands here. Let's look what has changed. The first step I already showed you, that we do have now 2 out of 2 containers running instead of 1 out of 1. And we can now watch we have here the pod. We have an init container which changes the incoming traffic designated for the demo web application. It changes the traffic that it goes to the sidecar first. We do have here still our demo web application. And yes, here we do have our sidecar injected. Now let's repeat the thing we did before. I copy again the attack string, or sending it here. And what we see is that the request is being blocked. We can confirm that as well in the logs. What we see, there is no request being received by the backend. And we do have 2 commands here. The first one is showing all kind of requests, and the second one is only show the blocks from the sidecar. And what we see is here that the request is being sent containing this query, but that there have been deny rules being applied and being triggered, and therefore the request is being blocked. As mentioned, you can do that on your own if you want. It's free, and you can make up your mind. To sum up, there is no silver bullet in general. You should use your tools, you should choose more than one, combine them in order to get the best out of it. And in general, I assume there are many advantages for Kubernetes native solutions, just that they can use all the engineers, the standard tools they are familiar with. From an organizational perspective, you should integrate security as early as possible. And the tasks the security team or the dev team did before might have changed slightly. Security team might more being a consulting part, and the dev team do have as well some security tasks to accomplish. And yes, the cultural aspect, do not overestimate it and do not forget it. So if there are any questions, right now would be a good moment. Otherwise, afterwards I will be around. I'm going to grab a beer, I hope you too. And that would be a possibility. Otherwise, just send me an email if you do have questions. I don't know.